Australian Federal Police are beefing up security at the Villawood Detention Centre tonight, 24 hours after a wild riot. The complex was torched and 9 buildings destroyed by about 100 detainees. Luckily, no one was hurt. The federal government says many of those involved have had their applications for asylum rejected. Reporter Rebecca Barrett is at the detention centre and she joins us now. Rebecca, are the protesters still up on the roof?
Yes, they are, Jeremy. There's at least 5 protesters on the rooftop behind me. It's dark, I know that you can't see, but in the last hour, an Iraqi man has apparently come down because he was feeling unwell. As you mentioned, there's an increased security presence here tonight. The Australian Federal Police have more officers patrolling the facility. Things, though, at the moment seem relatively calm, but it was a very different situation last night. It started as a 2-man protest by Kurdish asylum seekers whose refugee claims had been rejected. It soon escalated with half a dozen buildings on fire and 100 detainees involved. The riot police were called in as security guards were forced to retreat. Authorities say 100 firefighters had to be escorted into the detention centre.
They had roof tiles and other pieces of furniture being hurled at them by some of the detainees.
Refugee advocates say detainees were provoked.
I saw myself, the firefighters was trying to push them by water cannons or water to come down.
At no stage were fire hoses pointed at any refugees on the roofs.
Relatives of those inside rushed to find out what was happening.
All this is happening because of, because of the waiting. They've been there more than 2 years.
Up to 5 years in some cases, according to refugee advocates. An Iraqi rooftop protester known only as Malad expressed his frustration in a phone call.
Why are we still here? What crime did we do to stay in the detention for a long time?
The protesters got an ominous warning from the government.
If they think they will be accepted as refugees because of this sort of protest action, they've chosen the wrong government and the wrong minister, because that won't be happening.
The opposition says the government is now part of the problem, not the solution.
The government's only response to their failures is to open more beds and move people between beds. What they need to do is stop boats.
Long-term detention, indefinite detention, a lack of time limit on detention is causing very vulnerable people and pushing them to breaking point.
Some of those involved in last month's Christmas Island riots were moved to Villawood earlier this month, but the government says they weren't involved in this protest. This afternoon, supporters made their feelings clear. Despite damage to the kitchen and other buildings, around 400 detainees will continue to be housed at Villawood.
So, Rebecca, what is the next step for authorities and the detainees?
Well, at this stage, Jeremy, there are at least 2 separate inquiries that are underway. There's a full-scale police investigation that could well result in criminal charges being laid when it's finished. There's also an independent review into last month's Christmas